The dream blunt rotation is a hypothetical list of people or characters who you would most want to pass around the Zaw with, or just smoke with in general. And some people put like celebrities or actors, or their close friends and family. However, I'm not some people. You see, I don't go outside, and have no friends, so who would be on my dream blunt rotation? Well, dear viewer, you see, I have something most people don't, most normal people. Fallout. And way too much time on my hands. So today, I'm going to be gathering 4 of what I believe to be the chillest and best Fallout characters to smoke with, and create the Dream Fallout Blunt Rotation. The rules are simple. I'm gonna dive into the lore and choose 4 characters, including me, because who wouldn't put Noodle God on their Dream Blunt Rotation, and determining on whether or not I believe that they would be the chillest to smoke with, as well as determining their role in the blunt rotation. I'll be ranking each character out of 10 in 3 categories, and totaling their score out of 30, listing off the top 4 characters that I've found across the series. The first thing I'll be covering is their general personality. They gotta be chill and generally likable to make the list. 2. How willing they would be to smoke. Noodle God does not stand for peer pressure. And 3. How well their blunt rotation etiquette is. The general consensus is puff, puff, pass, and you generally take no more than 2 hits before passing the joint along, to ensure everyone gets a fair turn. Characters will also be able to get extra points if they have any standout qualities that would make being intoxicated around them better. With the rules in motion, let's begin the Dream Fallout Blunt Rotation. Now, for the first member of the rotation, we got Harold, also known as the guy who lets it crust, who is probably the most well-known Fallout character, bar none, as he's got mad connections, like yours truly. As I was saying, Harold gets around. He's present across 6 games, one of which being the banger Fallout board game, so he's clearly a fan favorite across the franchise, so this certainly helps his case. In terms of his role in the blunt rotation, he would double as the supplier and the wise old man who rambles about the good old days all night. In terms of his likability, Harold, despite appearances, has shown time and time again to be one of the kindest and chillest characters across the franchise. Even when he's begging for assisted suicide, he still, somehow, always manages to make me smile. So I think a 9 out of 10 in terms of general likability is in order. Harold's also a homie in the lore, and seems, dare I say, nonchalant. He's a very spiritual little man, so assuming he would smoke, even if just medicinally, isn't that far-fetched whatsoever. Which leads me to rank Harold's willingness to smoke at a 7 out of 10. Harold's blunt etiquette would also be exceptional, as he's just a nice guy, and a lightweight, which means more for me, meaning 10 out of 10 for his blunt etiquette. Giving our boy a crisp 26 out of 30. But wait, remember earlier when I said that characters that have standout qualities get bonus points? Well, Harold has some standout qualities. You see, Harold is part tree. You know where I'm going with this. If we're passing around the Drangus and we run out, my man could just grow us some more off of one of his branches. So due to Harold's amazing gift, his score will be raised from a 26 to a 27 out of 30, cementing that Harold is among the best people, not just in the franchise, but in the universe to smoke with. Marcus, originally from Fallout 2, but also known as the guy from New Vegas, is another one of the chillest characters in the franchise, and another fan favorite. You're gonna start noticing a pattern here, but don't fear, I'm not a fake fan. Marcus is another absolute homie, most of the time. I'll get into that soon, because we kind of have 2 different variations to choose from for the blunt rotation. We have Fallout 2 Marcus, who's a little bit racist in this game, but still a mostly good guy, and he's also kind of a baddie. with a chin so big you could land a plane on. And New Vegas Marcus, who trades his massive fucking chin and baddie status for not being a racist and being slightly more chill. So, for the sake of making an optimal blunt rotation, we'll be taking the non-racist Marcus. As for his role, Marcus would be that of the chill guy, that's considerably less blasted, who protects us when we start seeing geometric shapes. As previously stated, Marcus is a likable guy. Honestly, dare I say, more than Harold, because unlike Harold, he doesn't go on senile rants where he talks about the good old days. So, I think I would go as far as to say that Marcus gets a 10 out of 10 in his likability. As for his willingness, Marcus ain't no flippin' square. He's been shown to be quite in tune with nature, cause he's green, as well as just being a chill, spiritual person. So I'd put his willingness to smoke at an 8 out of 10, only cause he's green. And for his etiquette, Marcus is also extremely polite and would 1000% be down to share. So that's an easy 10, right? Well, I have to factor in the fact that he's a big fella, so he would need to take a larger dose just to feel something. So he goes down to a 9 out of 10 because it's really the thought that counts, leaving Marcus's final score on the blunt rotation at a 27 out of 30. Now, let me just say, I am not at all a fan of Mama Murphy, as she suffers from the incurable disease of being from Fallout 4, and she acts as more of a poor plot device that gets used twice, rather than being a person. But I'm not getting into that in this video. What I will get into, though, is that, all jokes aside, bias or not, Mama Murphy was fucking made for this list. She's like the only confirmed geeker in the franchise, with you being able to supply her addiction and possibly kill her via giving her too many drugs. I also just find that smoking up with an elderly woman is really goddamn funny for no justifiable reason. So like, it buys a lot from her. Mama Murphy's role would probably be that of the one who bakes us cookies, cause well, I want cookies. As to her likability, I think Mama Murphy would be decently high up, as she's just a grandma, so smoking up with her would be pretty chill. However, she does suffer from being at the wrong place at the wrong time. You see, Mama Murphy is from Fallout 4, so she kind of just loses out points based on the association. And in Fallout 4, she ain't even that interesting or likable, as her entire character can be cleverly surmised as her just straight fiending off the sole survivor, begging for a rip of the fiend machine all game. So it definitely averaged out to a fair 6 out of 10. And now for her willingness to smoke. This is just the freest 10 I've ever seen. Mama Murphy is straight fiending. Like, she would rip someone in half for a good blunt. So, easy 10. And now for Mama Murphy's blunt etiquette. Now, on the surface, she's a 0. Like, come on. She is hogging everything. However, I think against the spirit of the blunt rotation, Mama Murphy is going to bring her own stuff. Like, she's so greedy that it genuinely rolls over into hoarding territory. She's going to pass around her own blunt to herself alone. And that isn't weed she's passing around. So she ain't touching any of our stuff. And unless she's in a really good mood, you ain't likely getting any of it. Which is probably for the better, as I could definitely see Mama Murphy bringing in some laced shit and killing everyone. So, since Mama Murphy wouldn't really hog the blunt at all, I'll give her a 9 out of 10. Mama Murphy also gets a bonus point just out of the prospect of her baking cookies for us, resulting in a decent 26 out of 30. Now, before we get into the final member of the blunt rotation, we have the characters that I really wish made it in, but fell slightly short, also known as the honorable mentions. Joshua Graham from Honest Hearts, in terms of this list, is one of the most min-maxed characters in the series. He scores a perfect 10 in the general personality department and blunt etiquette. However, his Mormonism shines through once again, tanking his willingness to smoke, which unfortunately drops him to a mere 20 points, placing him just short of the list. Another fan favorite who is just shy of the list, we have Porter Gage. Now, Gage was very close, with an impressive 10 in his willingness to smoke category, and an 8 in his general likability. However, once again, his score gets tanked by one category, this time in the form of his blunt rotation etiquette. Now, Gage is a raider, which makes him a straight fiend. He is hogging the blunt and smoking the whole thing himself. So, I can't reasonably put his blunt etiquette higher than a 5, and that's being generous. So, this leaves his score at a depressingly close 23 out of 30. Now, Liberty Prime is only up here because I think it would be hysterical to smoke up with a 40-foot giant communist-hating robot. I don't even think he'd be capable of smoking the Za, so he has like a 0 in willingness to smoke, but he'd have a 10 in his personality and blunt rotation etiquette, and besides, he could tell us the dangers of communism. Now, I know at least one person watching this is wondering where Veronica is, and no, alas, she's not number 1. Now, this is because Veronica isn't just a fan favorite, she is the fan favorite. Veronica, who I also really wish made it onto the list, has an easy 10 in her general personality, and an 8 in her blunt etiquette. However, I'm not really sure if she would really want to smoke, so I'd give her a 6 in her willingness. She's smart, but also chill, so it's really hard to gauge whether or not she'd be down. Veronica also loses a point for just how hard she would trauma dump on us, but she regains that point for being a lesbian, and you know me, I love me some lesbians. Now for the final piece of the puzzle. This one is pretty self-explanatory. If you've even played New Vegas, you know we got Raul. Now, Raul is just beyond chill. He's on a different fucking planet at all times, whether it be because of the dementia, or the fact that he beat us to it and is already lit at all times. It's clear that, no matter what, Raul just can't be bothered with the whole thing. Raul even has a shack to smoke up with. Now, it is what we in the business like to call a fucking disaster, but it does have a little bit of charm to it. Now, we won't be able to use it for the blunt rotation because, well, we're smoking up with a 10-foot tall mutant and a fucking tree who isn't very mobile, so the shack is a no-go, which leaves Raul in a weird spot. He's easily the best character in the series to smoke up with, bar none. But he has no real purpose or role in the blunt rotation, and he won't really add much in any meaningful way that isn't his presence. So for this, I'm gonna have to deduct points, but we'll get into that at the end. Now, for Raul's score. As previously stated, Raul is a straight homie, leading to an unsurprising 10 out of 10 in his likability. And furthermore, we already know that Raul is always faded. He's a straight fiend for the Za, so it's another easy 10 for his willingness to smoke. And he's a kind and generous character, like, he's willing to give the courier the clothes off his back. So, are we really going to believe he's going to be a blunt hog? No tomato. So I think a 10 in his blunt etiquette is probably a good option, leading to what might be our first 30 out of 30 in Noodle God history. Yeah, no. Remember when I said that I'd have to deduct points for Raul not really having a role in the rotation? Well, it hurts me to say this, but I'm afraid that Raul's perfect 30 out of 30 is gonna have to go down to 29 out of 30. So there you have it. Among all the characters that we will be smoking with today, Raul stands at the apex, the pinnacle of all characters, at least for smoking with. Well folks, that concludes the Dream Fallout Blunt rotation. I am firm on the fact that amongst every Fallout game, you couldn't find any characters better to smoke with. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything, don't forget to like and subscribe. Anyways, that's all for today, Noodle Gang. God bless the Enclave. God bless America. Noodle God signing off.